Welcome to my Just Jenny podcast. My guest today, Tabitha Brown, is with me. Hi, Tabitha.
Hello there, Miss Jenny. How you doing, girl?
Well, better because you're here. So, 2 years ago, I was trying. So I used to have a radio show on Sirius XM for like
Mhm.
over 17 years, and your first book came out, Feeding the Soul, which New York Times bestseller. Oh, because let me just say, you're a 2-time New York Times bestselling author. My guess is it's going to be 3 with the new journal, Tabitha Brown, Seen, Loved, Heard, which is a guided journal and really magnificent. Great job. You have your TV show, CompliPlated. You have Tab Time. There's so many things that you've done. But when that Feeding the Soul came out, and I had seen you all over TikTok and Instagram, and I think like everybody fell in love with you, not even like knowing the backstory, just you have this magical essence. It's like, I don't know, you've got it. You've got that thing. You've got that thing that you knew you had, even when you were questioning or doubting, you have that thing. And so I tried with like the fancy booking department at SiriusXM. I was like, please, can we book Tabitha Brown? Please, can you find Tabitha Brown? Please, she's who I want to talk to. I really want to talk to Tabitha Brown. Couldn't get it done. And then the hustler right here tracked down your team and was like, "Hi, I really love Tabitha. Please, can I talk to Tabitha?" They were so you have the nicest team. So let's start with that.
Oh, thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. And
Oh,
thank you for wanting to spend time with me. I appreciate that.
well, your story is really remarkable, Tabitha, from how you were raised to how you managed and have dealt with losing your mother, which I'm
Mm,
so sorry about. I understand it. I know it. I've lost both my parents at this point.
I'm so
And
sorry.
it's, yeah, something you don't get over.
Never.
Um, but I love how you talk about your mom and how, in a way, she knew all this was going to happen. So why don't we start there? Why don't we start with Patricia? Patricia Blackstock Johnson. Let's start with her.
You know what's so amazing? I dreamt of her last night. Uh,
Mm,
so I woke up this morning with her a friend of mine, and perhaps maybe this was the reason. She was just kind of letting me know that her presence was going to be even more so in the room, honey.
yeah.
But my mama was amazing. She was a very kind
Mhm.
and gentle spirit. Uh, she was a social worker. She loved people. She believed in people. She taught me to always try to see the good in everybody.
Yeah.
Uh, so everybody always gets 100 when they meet me. Everybody starts at 100. You deduct yourself. Like
It's your fault.
yeah,
Right.
you take away your own points, but when you meet me, I'm gonna give you 100, right?
Yeah.
But I believe that everybody has something good inside of them, and that teaching really came from my mama. She every day of her life taught a master's class at giving grace
Yeah.
to people. I saw my mom be mistreated, be disrespected, and she still gave grace. She still I can't even remember hearing my mom yell.
Oh, wow. Oh,
She
wow.
It was very rare,
Yeah.
which is also kinda scary.
A little bit, because then you know she's the most serious. Like, that's what my kids are always,
Yeah.
they know that something's gone awry when I'm like, when I get
She's got
quiet.
this
Yeah.
even tone,
Yeah.
but very soft spoken, and, the only time I really would hear her yell is, like, if she's yelling for me to come here, but, like, to be in an argument or to be fussing,
Yeah.
even her, fussing at you was very soft. And you couldn't really get mad at her,
Yeah.
and she was just a great soul. When my mom turned 50, she died at 51.
Right.
Of course,
Mm.
she had ALS, and so we knew at 50 that we didn't have her much longer. So she planned this whole 50th birthday party, and so we had uh, I guess some people could call it like a roasting session or whatever. Everybody gets up and says something,
Sure.
and so she
I
had like,
love that it was a roasting session. Are
but
you kidding me? It's like the
in a
greatest
good
thing I've ever heard. Yeah. Amazing.
So, the funniest thing, so she had, like, all the people, like, her best friends that she grew up with, that have been her childhood friends that were there,
Yeah.
all the people that she worked with, people from her church, and so everyone got up and said, something about her, And so many people would get up and they all said the same thing. They would say, all this time, I thought I was her best friend, but
Right.
everybody felt like that they were her best friend because she made everybody feel that
Feel
way.
that way. Oh,
And so it was so funny. One of her, who I always thought one of her best friends, her name was Lisa. She was
yeah.
like, I'm standing here completely
Of
flabbergasted that
course.
I'm not her only best
That's
friend.
right. How dare she? Of course. Fair
But
enough.
if that tells you anything, that tells
Yeah.
you a lot about who my mom was.
Yeah.
She was everybody's best friend, which is when I hear people say that about me, when they say,
Yeah.
"You just feel like my best friend,"
Yeah.
or my mom or my aunt. That's how people felt about my mom. So I'm like, "Oh, I'm
You
doing
got that
something
thing.
right."
Yeah, but what I think about is that, when she had ALS, how she was documenting her time, how she was making recordings for you that you then got to find, and I mean, I get it, like, I look at you and I think about the powers that you have and the dreams that you've had, and, and again, that's which I'll get into in your book. You there's this quote where you said you're pressing toward your dreams, working while you're waiting for them to come true. Like that is my freaking motto in life. Like, got to
Yeah.
do the work, and then like sure, manifest dream and all that, but your visions and your mother's just I don't know. She knew Tabitha. Like she knew that she had to document her story and that
Mhm.
you would then find it.
Yeah.
And it's
She left her box
pretty
for me.
yeah. And then even when you talk about kind of your stepfather and how she calls him out and you find forgiveness, like I need to understand
Yeah.
that thing in you that because I get it. Like there's God and there's purpose and there's that thing in your belly that tells you to do the right thing and to have grace.
Yeah.
But, like, when I get mad, Tabitha, and
Mhm.
somebody does the wrong thing to somebody I love, it's very hard for me to just kinda be like, "All right, I'm gonna let it go." Talk about it. Talk about what your mother said about your stepfather and how you found your way to, like, let that go, which maybe opened you up to a whole bunch of beautiful things happening.
Yeah. Um, you know, I knew because when my mom was sick, I did this video that one day I'll share with the world.
Mm,
I recorded her, telling her life story, right?
mm,
Because she was, writing the story of her life. And I also asked her some questions, and one of the questions I asked her was, if you could change all of this, and not ever get sick, would you do it? And she said, no. This is what, God trusted me with this journey.
mm,
He trusted me with the sickness, right?
mm.
But I also interviewed my stepdad, and
Wow.
he was angry.
Yeah.
He was angry with God. He was even angry with my mom for getting
Mhm.
sick. Even though he knew that she didn't do it on purpose, it was just like, this was not our plan, you know? But when you don't have a root in your spirituality, you don't have a true connection, it's easy to anger without understanding, right? So I already knew he was angry. He and I even had arguments and we butted heads a lot during the time my mom was sick. However, I didn't know how bad it really was until I found the cassettes. And there were, times that, you know, because, with ALS, you're pretty much paralyzed in your body
Yeah.
at a certain
Yeah.
stage of the disease. And he would, put her in a wheelchair and leave her in the house, and he'd leave and be gone for some time. And, she couldn't go to the bathroom, she couldn't eat, she couldn't, do anything. And so, she would just record herself, right? She'd
Oh,
take the wheelchair into the office and pick up a pencil with her mouth and hit record on her recorder and, you know, um, just talk about how long she'd been in there. And but she never blamed him. She would say, "I know this is not him. This is him allowing, the enemy to use him in this moment." Grieving while people are alive is a real thing, because especially when people get terminally diagnosed,
Yeah.
they're going to die. So the grieving starts then.
Yeah.
And I was young, I was angry. And it took me a long time before I made peace with it. But what I came to terms with understanding is that I was holding me back by holding
Mhm.
against him and holding the anger. I spent time with this anger, girl. This anger was you're my dog. My dog is like black. He's like, yes, it was a lot.
Yeah, and they know. Yeah.
Right. But I spent so much time with that anger, and it was wasted time,
Yeah.
energy.
Yeah.
And I would, my mama also, she comes to me in dreams and she was like, you gotta let it go. She was all right with it. She
Yeah.
left this world forgiving him and loving him. And so I wrote him a letter and I just said everything that I felt, but I had to release it, and also told him I forgave him. And that was 2009 when I wrote that letter and sent it to him. And I did not hear from him for a long time,
It's incredible.
for years, really. Uh, and I made peace with it, but he didn't make peace with himself. He was,
Sure.
he was still, of course, beating himself up, and even still so today. You
Yeah.
know,
I think because you have that deep connection to a spiritual life, and your mother did,
yeah,
you were able to kind of tap into that, like that deeper understanding of that thing that does happen when someone gets sick and we can't control it and we love them. And so there's that anger that sets in of like, how could you do this? They
yeah,
didn't do anything, but like the situation is so horrible,
yeah,
and he couldn't fix it. And so when he couldn't fix it, I'm sure he felt less than, even though it had nothing to do with him.
yeah.
As you like to say, not his business.
Right, right. But
And yeah,
it's hard,
yeah,
especially for men.
yeah.
You know,
Oh God, yes.
men, their natural instinct is to fix,
Yeah,
right? We have wombs, right? We're born as women with wombs.
yeah,
Our natural instinct is to carry,
yeah.
right? And sometimes that means that we carry the weight
Sure.
of the world, honey.
All of
We
it.
carry the weight of feelings,
Hmm.
but we also are built to carry.
Yeah,
So it
yeah,
doesn't really move us as quickly as when a man can't fix something.
yeah.
It just takes them to a whole place of unbalanced. For
Yes.
us, it's like, okay, I can carry a little bit more.
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah. Just do a little bit more until it gets resolved. But
exactly.
again, like I want people to understand, because now, yes, you're everywhere, right? Now you're Tabitha Brown. I am Tabitha Brown. That's Instagram, TikTok. There's YouTube. You're this giant star, right?
Mhm.
But it's taken you 23 years to be an overnight success. And during that time, you were doing all kinds of good for other people. And not that there's like one way to make things happen, but I don't know many people who'd walk into their job and say, fire me so two people can keep their gig. I don't know a lot of people who would do that, but you did that.
Yeah. And I was very young then. I was in my 20s. But I knew I had bigger dreams. I knew
Yeah.
something else was calling me, right? Um, and so a lot of the people who worked there, I was a supervisor at 21, but I was supervising people who were in their 50s.
Right.
Right?
Right.
This was their job until they retired.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna go and do a whole bunch of other things. They're still gonna be there. And they need this job. They're doing layoffs. People were talking, they were scared.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, shoot, I could maybe take that severance package and save that money. That could help me get to my next part of my dream.
Right.
And
Right.
so it just felt like the right thing to do. I was like, listen, I volunteer to you can let me go because I make more than the reps on the phone.
Yeah.
Keep two of them and let them keep their job and lay me off. Take me out, Yeah, that just made sense to me. I
It's
was
like the
all
Hunger Games before the Hunger Games. You
right.
volunteer to tribute. You're like, take me.
Yes. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in the moment, I wasn't really thinking that I was doing anything grand, you know?
Right.
Um, I just did what made sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you went and sort of had these ups with getting the job in North Carolina and then moving to California, then having to come back with your mother, then going back, then driving an Uber, then you're unwell before the Uber, trying to
Mhm.
figure out why you're so unwell,
Yeah.
thinking you're gonna have ALS, even though you've had this accident years ago in the neck and the whole bit. I mean, your path could have been decidedly different, Tabitha, had you
Yeah.
just had well, had you not been you, right? Because I think your attitude and your essence is everything.
Yeah.
Because I know many people with far better circumstance that wind up in a way darker place long term,
Yeah.
but you got yourself out of it. So talk about that. Talk about sort of when you had had an injury when you were young, it didn't heal properly, as so many don't. And now you're sick and parts aren't working, and you're sort of on your knees and you're doing the best that you can. And again, could go in any direction. You have a child, you're married, chance, choice, question. I love your family. And so what is that time like for you where there is that feeling of desperation, yet you still find your way to this concept of God and spirituality and believing.
You know, it's been such a long journey, right?
Yeah.
I grew up in the church, and I grew up being taught about faith and having this belief, right? And I always tell people, although I grew up in the church, I'm not religious. I'm
Mhm.
spiritual.
Mhm.
I don't honestly. I hate religion. I think it causes separation, and I just am not a fan.
I get that from you. When you talk about God, you're not talking, we have to think Jesus. I mean, I'm Jewish and I read your book and I'm like, oh my God, I got to look in my fucking eyes in the fucking mirror. And I tend to curse. So excuse me, but I can't help myself. But I do that thing, Tabitha, like you talk about. And I see that in you. Like I feel that it's not a one size
Yeah,
fits all spirituality. So yes, you grew up in the church end.
yeah. So believing in something greater than me was always there.
Yeah.
So, and then having this dream inside of me,
Mm.
um, that I never saw anyone in my family achieve, right? Because, my daddy, he'll tell you, he'll be like, I still don't know how you got this acting desire, right? He'd be like, we didn't know anybody who did acting,
Right.
which is also how you know it came from God. Like, this is how I was born. I was born with this
Totally.
desire inside of me. And it would not let me live. Like, I couldn't shake it, even when
Yeah.
I tried. So, um, for years and years of pursuing and pursuing, and then even finally getting to LA and my mom getting sick and having to go back and forth for 3 years until she passed away. When she passed and I came back to LA, I was like, I gotta just jump full in. Imma just take whatever job I could take, anything. Wow, okay, of course, I worked at Macy's for 5 years, and then I was like, I'm gonna quit Macy's. I'm gonna pursue this hard for the next, like, year and see what happens, and I did a bunch of, like, movies that went straight to DVD back in Blockbuster days and, you
I
know,
remember.
some
Yeah.
terrible films that we hope nobody ever sees, but
Mhm.
if they do, great, because that's part of my story.
Yeah.
Um, but a lot of small victories, but
Mhm.
every one of them I thought were huge. Everything I booked, I don't care if I was getting paid $50, $500, 2,500, it was going to be the thing.
That was it.
This is
Yes.
it, right? I would
Yes.
tell my husband, this is it this time. I know we're gonna go to the film festival. We're gonna win the festival. We're probably gonna even get an Oscar. Like, that's how my mind
100%.
used
That's
to
right.
think. And I just couldn't see past that. Like, that was just who I always have been. Um, Even being broke,
Yeah,
making no
that's a
money.
yeah, I mean, right, yeah.
And so when I got sick,
Mhm.
in 2016, after taking a break, from acting to have a son,
Mhm.
I did all these
Yeah.
things. I told my husband, we both woke up one morning and looked at each other and like, "You wanna try to have a baby?" I'm like, "Yeah, you wanna have a baby?" Like,
I
"Yeah,
love
let's."
that.
You know?
There yeah, uh-huh.
I told him then, I was like, and I had just started to kind of pick up in my acting. Things were really starting to move. I was like, he was like, "Are you sure? Because right now it seems like you're starting to finally get to a place." And I was like,
Mhm.
"Let me tell you about this acting world." It ain't ever going nowhere. I was like, and if God wants me to be an actor, if he wants me in this business, when I have this baby and this baby turn 1, he will literally have things waiting for me. I
Yeah.
said that, and I can't remember if I
Yeah.
have it in my book or not, but literally, my son turned 1 March 18th,
Yeah.
and March 18th, I was on set. Yeah, it's like it
Yeah.
was part it and even with my mom, before my
Yeah.
mom died, she told me, she was like, "God has shown me your life." She was like, "It's going to be amazing." She said, "But before any of it happens, you will have had a son first." I said, "I'm not having any more kids." Because at that time, I had my bonus daughter and
Yeah.
my daughter, and they're 6 years apart. We couldn't afford any more kids.
Right.
And I thought there's no way I could ever have another baby without my mama.
Oh
I'm
my
not having any more kids.
Oh
So when she said that, I was like, these drugs they have her on are making her look,
my God. They're making her loopy.
you know? And
Yeah.
so, of course, all the years later, me and my husband, we literally the same day wake up and look at each other like, let's try to have a baby, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then for it to be my son and for things to start happening, I was
Percolating.
my mom said that
Yeah.
my life would be amazing,
Yeah.
but I would have had a son first. So it's little things like that that just remind me of how strong spirit is,
Yeah, for
what
sure.
our gifts are,
Yeah.
right? But how God will give us all these things to hold on to.
Mhm. Mhm.
So when I got sick years later, even after that, my faith was tested, because I was sick for, over a year with doctors not being able to tell me what was wrong with me.
Oh, how scary.
It was very scary. And I was
Yeah.
like, Lord, you brought me this far to leave me right here.
Yeah, no.
And I really started to believe he couldn't hear me anymore.
Mm.
So what I talk about in my book is I was like, okay, I'm gonna have my last try with the Lord, honey. I call it my meeting with Jesus in the bathroom. Come on in the bathroom, Lord. Let's have a conversation,
Yeah.
right? And that's
Yeah.
when I in that mirror and I say, God, if you heal me, you can have me. And I meant it that day, right? What I
Mhm.
meant was I'm not going to try to live my life my way anymore. I'm going to live it the way you created me to live it. And
Yeah.
that means I have to be obedient to whatever I feel and hear,
Yep.
which also meant I had to start taking off the layers of this Tabitha that I had created, right? Because I created this Tabitha that I thought that Hollywood wanted.
Wanted. Of course, that's right. And then you had to get to you. You had to actually be you.
Because that's the thing, God can't give you what he want to give you if you ain't you.
No. Right.
Because then you can't handle it.
Nah,
He got
you
to
knew authentic before anyone else used it. Like, that's the key.
right. And so sometimes it's your darkest hour, honey, where the light shines the brightest. And so
Right.
that was it for me. I was like, I had my aha moment of, all right, I got to start taking these layers off and getting to tab.
Yeah.
And I can only do it with his guidance. I can only allow God to order my steps.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. And that's, I did it all by faith. Because I couldn't see anything for a while. That darkness, honey, was very dark. You can't see in the dark. So I had to do it by faith. I had to believe what he was telling me. When God spoke to me and said, start doing videos, I could have been like, no. Because
Oh,
I did
right.
try. I did try. I was like, Lord, nah, I think you're talking to the wrong person.
Right.
My neighbor, she a nurse. Maybe you're talking to her about doing nurse videos because you're not talking to me, Lord. He was like, start doing these videos. And then when I went vegan, he said, now tell people what you're eating in your videos. And I was like, Lord, you're asking a lot of me, but I had to be obedient. But if I had decided to keep trying to control my life myself, girl, we wouldn't be on this call.
Yeah, but you know what, Tabitha, I think that's like your path, always hindsight, we could see it, right? So your
Mhm.
path was clearly set for you to be a teacher, for you to be the one to lead other people, for you to be the Sherpa. He
Mm,
wants you to be you because we pay attention to what you have to say. So when
mm,
you have kind of that divine intervention in a sense, leading you in that direction, it's because you need to lead us, which is what you've been doing. I mean,
mm,
whether you intended to or you didn't, writing a book like Feeding the Soul,
yeah.
it talks to everybody. And I don't know a person who could read that book and not think and not get real clear about how their lives are going and maybe why their lives are going in those directions. And that the
Yeah.
choice in there isn't isn't about that kind of, I don't know, when you pray to God over some sort of baloney. And I'm not a devout, I am not religious at all. I barely even know what I believe.
Mhm.
But what I know for sure is that you can't just be like, hey, can you please make sure this happens? Oh God, right? Like that. Can you just get me that thing that I've been wanting forever? Like, it's not about that. You had a real moment that tapped into whether it's God, whether it's spirit, whether it's something in you. I don't care
Mhm.
what it's named, but you were very open and available to do that thing and then do that thing. 23 years and 5 years when you got to that place when you're on your knees, or 4 years where you're just in your bathroom, like, okay, what now? Or 3 years, whatever it was. And you become this vegan and start posting these videos just as Tabitha in an
Yeah.
Uber eating. I mean, it's, and
It's
back
crazy.
then,
I'm
now we
crazy.
all eat, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, the thing about God is that he likes to get his credit, right? Likes it. And so he'll do things that only he can do. There's no way that I have this life from eating a sandwich in my car. People are like, "That is insane." But that's he has humor. He was like, "Only I can do that. Only
Yeah.
I can create a life for you from you eating a sandwich in your car."
Oh, it's not. It, yes, I do believe you're right that there is that sort of something.
Yeah,
However, you have worked so hard, Tabitha, and
absolutely.
every step that you have taken yourself. And this is the thing that's so important. Like I said earlier when we were talking, you're pressing toward your dreams, working while you're waiting for them to come true. You were
Yeah.
never the kind of person to just sit idly and complain that things weren't as you wanted them. You
Oh,
were
absolutely.
busy, right? Driving that Uber. Sure, now you're vegan. Now you're dealing with chronic pain. Now you're getting out of the pain. Now you're finding your way. Now you're doing this, that, all while raising your kids, all while being a wife, all while
Yeah.
doing these things. So you
Yeah.
set yourself up to be touched, right? You set yourself up to explode because you did there's no way through
Obedient.
any, you have to do the work.
Being obedient and consistent,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Listen, I was driving Uber because in my mind, I was gonna get discovered in my car.
It's
I mean,
unbelievable. I love that. I love that you
you
thought that.
know?
I love that you thought that.
And I told my husband that. I said, "Listen, I'm gonna go drive Uber because I'm gonna get discovered in my car. I'm in Los Angeles. I'm gonna probably pick up a director or a producer. Somebody gonna discover me." I didn't get discovered by a producer or director, but I did get discovered in my car.
Yeah.
So I was still right.
Yes.
It just was I was eating a sandwich.
You got discovered by like all the directors who watch TikTok. Everybody's a
Listen,
director.
it was
Right.
Facebook and Instagram because this is
Oh,
2017
so
when that
that was on Facebook. Okay. Oh my God.
in Instagram and YouTube, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And every news outlet picked that video up. And I was like, all I was doing was sharing how good the sandwich was.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and as a vegan, I wanted to make sure I was relatable. I wanted to make sure I had fun. I wanted people to feel curious.
Yeah.
And because, being veganism has had this bad stigma for a very long time, very judgy and rightfully so. I understand it because uh, activism is always rooted in pain.
Hmm.
Veganism started because of pain.
Yeah.
And so I get why people, there's ethical vegans who are just gung ho about the matter. Rightfully so. It's a very tough community. Um, but I wanted to be a part of it, but the opposite, because you still need love to get things accomplished.
Yeah.
You need understanding. You need a little laughter and a little
Of
humor.
course.
Like if I'm going to do this, honey, I want people to come and be intrigued and want to learn more.
Yeah.
And so, and listen, trust me, I've had many vegans tell me I'm not vegan and they talk trash to me, honey. I get the death threats and all the craziness in my, inboxes of, the
Oh, but
hate.
what? You're totally vegan. I read the recipes. I get to choose how much of everything I want to put in it.
I
I love
know,
it. It's all
I know.
vegan. What's
It
not
is.
vegan about you?
But if you don't, certain people, it's just like religion. If you don't do it their way,
Yeah.
they're not happy. right? So if I'm not at the animal shelters, or if I'm not at, the slaughterhouses holding up signs or
Yeah.
posting about them, then I'm not vegan enough,
Oh,
right?
please. I mean, I
You
have no
know,
time for
it's,
that because
it's crazy.
I have no time for that. Like, I'm an
Yeah,
animal lover. Like I love, like my love. I have 4 little dogs
yeah,
that rule our home. They are my babies, just like my human babies. Like,
yeah,
I love animals, and I've been a vegetarian most of my life, certainly most of my adult life. And if
yeah,
I feel like I need a turkey sandwich, I have one, and it's
yeah,
rare, but if it happens, it happens. Don't come for me.
yeah,
I love animals. I was
yeah,
vegan for a period of time. I love vegan food. Don't
yeah,
come for me. You're
yeah.
doing a tremendous service to
Thank
vegans and to the plant-based community because you're freaking plant-based. So you can't
you. Yeah.
we there's
Well,
that
listen, I
not
still
your
love them.
business. Not your
Right.
business.
I
No.
still love them all. And I give grace,
Yeah. Oh, you're
because
so good. Yeah.
their pain is not my pain. That,
No.
whatever hurts
Mm-mm.
you, honey,
Right.
I didn't do it.
Nope.
Right. So that's
Nope.
how I look at that. But
No,
yeah,
and the recipes, by the way, also, and I know that your cookbook has many more recipes, but I love that in Feeding the Soul that you just throw out a recipe in the middle of the book and you're like, I don't know, use as many of the breadcrumbs as you want. Use as
yeah,
much of this as
yeah,
you'd like. Just shoot, measure with your heart, measure
yeah,
with your soul. You make your decision.
that's right.
I
Even
love
in
it.
my cookbook, my Cooking from the Spirit, there's
Yeah.
not any measurements because
Oh
we're
my
cooking from the
God.
spirit.
It's so good
So
though.
I tell people, if you need a recipe, every
Yeah.
time you cook, you don't trust yourself. And that's not
No.
just in the kitchen,
No.
right?
Right.
That means you don't trust yourself
Right.
in your day-to-day life. It's hard for you to make decisions, and we got to learn to trust ourselves a little bit more. So that's how
Yeah,
I
see,
feel.
this is it. That's it, Tabitha. That's you. That's Tab. Like, you have these bits of wisdom that just keep showing up, even that.
Mm. I guess, girl, I spent a lot of time as a little girl with old people. My great granddaddy, my granddaddy John, who I talk about in Feed the Soul, who
Yeah.
taught me how to play the tambourine. You know, that was how my summers were. I spent a lot of time with elders who
Yeah.
were great storytellers and full of wisdom. My mother loved old people. So when I
Mm.
was little, after school, my job, she would have me go and read to the old people in our neighborhood. It was a couple they were retired teachers, they were elderly, and their name was Mr. and Mrs. Folks. And so after school and during the summer, I would take my books and walk down the street and I would read to them and spend time with them. And just, I think, and of course, me and my dad are best friends, and I talk to him every day. He actually called while we've been on here. Um,
Oh,
just hearing stories and their ways, I picked that up. I've had an old soul my whole life. When I was little,
yeah.
they used to be like, "Oh, girl, you've been here before." That's how they,
Oh,
that's what the old folks say, "Girl, that girl done been here before," right? And I believe I have.
yeah. Can you tell me again about the story about, and then we'll talk about the journal, the story about it was your grandmother who was deaf and mute and
Oh,
taught
that was my great.
crocheting or blind, and then toward the end of her life, you there was a wink exchanged.
So that was
So
my
what do you
great
think? Yeah.
my great great aunt, who we call it my Aunt Bet.
Yeah.
She was deaf and could not talk as well. So she lost her hearing at about the age of 2 from a ear infection. Because I mean, she was in her 90s when I was a little girl, when I was young. So um, when she had this ear infection, no doctors would see her because she was black in that area. So she ended up losing her hearing.
Oh, yeah.
And so the only words that she could say were the words that she said it too. So like mama, papa, eat, you would hear her mumble these words. Uh, but in there was not even sign language back then, right? We had our own way of talking to her. And so um, in my mind as a little girl, I just believed she could hear
It's
because she was the
the
best
best story.
dancer. She watched the soap operas every day. I spent all this time in here with her when she was the town seamstress, so she made everyone's clothes. She
Yeah.
did everybody's hair, and she had an appointment book. I'm like, how does she? What? What is this? As a little girl, I'm like 8 years old, and I'm witnessing everything. And I just believed that she could hear because the real original reason was because me and my sister and all my cousins, we were all, summertime playing outside. They were older than me, and they were cursing, saying bad words, and I wanted to cuss too. Okay, I was like, I'm gonna say me a cuss word.
Yeah.
And when my mama came to pick us up, because my Aunt Bet is watching us, she's our guardian, right? As soon as my mama came, my Aunt Bet told her we were cursing.
Right.
She pointed to her mouth, and she, because she would mumble. She had her own way of like, she would literally go mum, like this is it. And she pointed to her mouth and did like this, like, and pointed to all of us. And my mama said, "Oh, y'all been out here cussing." I said, "How she know we was cussing? Because we was
So
outside."
good. Yeah.
Right? So that was my first way of saying, "Ain't Beck in here." So I would be in her, we call it the old house. I would be in there, but she'd be sewing on the machine, and she would always have her TV on, and it was a little black and white TV, no sound, but she would be watching.
Yeah.
I remember I would stand at the screen door, and she'd be directly behind me, and I would face out so she couldn't see me, and I would just like say, "Aunt Bet, I know you can hear. I promise I won't tell nobody. Like I
Let me
promise,
in.
you know."
Yeah.
And I would just beg her for summer after summer, like forever, to share the secret with me. Although, honey, I'm glad if that was the case. I would have totally told everybody.
Of
Okay.
course you would have told everybody.
But there was a time where she winked at me, and I was
Oh my
like,
God.
"What was the wink for?" Oh
Right.
my God, so
Yes.
uh,
Yes. So good.
it's just one of those things. As a kid, my imagination was always so big,
Yeah.
and I just believed that my Aunt Beck could hear. Although,
Uh,
I'm sure she couldn't, but in
she
my
couldn't, but it's such a good
opinion,
story.
I believe that she could.
Yeah. It's just, and maybe that's all you needed because
Yeah,
you don't talk like a sailor. So there you
right.
go. You learned your lesson from
Listen,
her.
I used to be the best cusser, honey. You won't go out cuss Tab.
And what happened?
When you give your life to God, honey, He changes how you even talk.
Oh, shoot.
And it wasn't even a thing that I even tried to stop doing. It just naturally happened.
You
That's
just
the power
stopped.
of spirit, honey.
Yeah.
He'll
I'm not
change your
there yet. Oh, I'm not there yet. Oh, I am not there yet.
You know how you have a certain friends that you used to hang with, and then something shifts inside of you.
Yes.
I don't want to
Yes.
hang with them no more. It's the
Yes.
same. It naturally happened.
Yeah. Okay.
Because me and my husband, we joke all the time, honey. You won't go out argue me. You won't go out cuss me, honey. Tab was gonna get this last word in,
By the
right?
way, you just had a podcast recently about the arguing in public. I really like that. You and Chance, because that is, let me
Yeah,
say, as somebody, because I'm with my husband 27 years,
yeah,
married almost 26, together 27.
amazing.
And when that arguing starts, and it usually starts over nothing, just something's been
Yeah,
brewing. And if you find yourself when there are people around, whether it's your kids, like the worst is arguing when our adult children,
yeah.
as I like to call them now, diet adults, because they're just young adults. So they're like adult light. They're diet adults.
Yes, I love that.
When they're home, Tabitha, and something goes on with my husband and me, and we start in the den, and it starts because it feels very public if the kids are in earshot, because you don't want to fight in front of the kids.
Yeah.
But I know what you're talking about. It's the
Let me
worst.
just tell you, every blue moon, it's
Yeah.
very healthy to have a good, not bad argument, but a
Right.
good argument
Yes, of
in
course.
front of your children.
Oh, really? Tell me why.
Let me tell you why. Because then they know that parents do argue.
Mm,
They
yeah.
know that husbands and wives have disagreements, because my parents never
Oh.
argued in front of me.
Oh gosh.
And when
Yeah.
they got a
Oh.
divorce, I did not understand why. I said, "Y'all are perfect. Y'all love each other. Y'all don't even argue." I was devastated.
Oh.
So it is kids, not to say that, oh, arguments mean divorce. It
No,
also, but
no.
it helps people know that people are not perfect. And also, I've had other friends who get married with false expectation,
Mm.
and they think that, oh, arguments don't happen in marriage. My parents didn't argue. Well, girl, what you think they was doing? They closed that door.
Right,
People
right.
do
Well, that's
argue.
what
And
right.
now I have
Right.
to replay my own thoughts as a kid, like, oh, that's why
That was
they would make
funny.
me go outside and play when they closed the door. Or they might have been doing something else. Okay, and that's
Yeah,
their
no,
business.
we call that mommy daddy time.
Mommy daddy time. But
Mhm.
people a healthy argument, or a healthy
Yes.
disagreement, as we call
Sure.
them.
Sure.
It's okay in front of children as long as you know it ain't crazy. But
Yeah,
they need
no.
to know that, oh wait, sometimes parents are not going to agree. Husband and wives don't always agree.
Mm-mm.
And they also know how to come to an agreement that we didn't agree. And
Mhm.
it's all right. So a healthy little argument or a healthy disagreement is all right every now and then for the children.
Okay, but when you and Chance are having a fight and then you wind up you're out in public space and everybody knows your name.
Yeah.
They
Well,
also know Donna. We didn't even talk about Donna and
okay.
Donna's
I'm
recipe.
hoping
We
I'm
will, but I like
a-
Donna. I like Donna. But how do
yeah.
you how do you deal with that moment?
Well, the thing is, we haven't had a lot of like public arguments,
Mhm.
right? When we were younger, I mean, we've been together 25 years too. So,
Mhm.
we've
Long time.
been
Of course, normal.
things happen. But in this place in our life, like we really having no outside arguments. Now we laugh because we were talking about Vegas, right? Because
Mhm.
last summer we were at a basketball. Listen, my husband, he loved his children. He is a basketball coach and mentor. And
Love
if
it.
the ref do anything he don't
Of
like and
course.
feel like the kids ain't being treated fair, he ready to kill somebody. Okay. And so, but me in this place of my life in the last 5
Mhm.
years, like, I've just changed so much. And I feel like there's always a peaceful way to handle things. And so we bump heads there,
So
you
good.
know. And I'm like, I have a children's show. I'm trying to create a
Right.
space mentally for children to grow up and be better humans.
Right.
There's gotta be a better way to handle this, you know? And so that's our
So
thing,
good. Yeah.
protest with at a children's basketball game. It wasn't, it was after the game actually at like the bowling alley or whatever. But it was me like wanting to just, keep it here. And he's like, "Oh no, you want to? Okay, let's do it."
Yeah.
That type of thing. But
Yeah.
that's because your emotion is so high, you're not thinking clearly,
Oh,
right?
yeah. Oh, well,
But
I know.
we are great actors, husbands and wives, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Because there could be a whole argument that happened in the car, and then we get there and act like ain't nothing happened, but don't talk to me while we're here.
Well, I mean, for real. I mean, for real. And then you get
Yeah,
home, you close the door, and it's like,
and then we can finish. Or it's silent treatment for about 2 days, and then let's talk about it.
yeah, I can't, I'm so bad at the silent treatment for 2 days. Like that will wreck me. That
Yeah,
that is my if you don't talk to me, I will just it flips a switch.
yeah,
It
I used
flips a
to be that way.
switch.
I used to
Oh,
be that way, and then I
yeah.
had to, um, really get to a place of understanding, like, he gonna need that time so he can be the best him in the conversation. So let me allow that,
Yeah.
and I need this time for me so that I can make sure that I'm gonna give grace.
Oh, you're so good, Tabitha, you're so good. You really are.
I
You
take
just get it. But that's why you're you again. That's why I said before, you're this remarkable like being with this bright light of goodness. You
mm,
have this and I think like the way you just showed up on everybody's screens was exactly at the time that you were needed. So much darkness in our country, so much negativity, and then
mm.
there was you. Just
Aw.
making us smile and just I don't know, like, it's your whole being is gorgeous. It's not just that you're aesthetic. I mean, you're beautiful, yes, but it's not that. It's like this other thing about you. It's
Well, I
Donna.
appreciate
It's
that.
Donna. Maybe it's just Donna. Maybe it's just
You
all
know,
about Donna.
Donna be doing her thing, honey. Right
Yeah.
now, she's still a little bit asleep, but she's still in here.
Yeah. So you of course created Donna's recipe. That's the other thing. You created this hair care line,
Yeah.
and I know you had a partner and you have a partner, but all because your hair wasn't doing as it should.
Listen, I created Donna's recipe originally because of,
Mhm.
again, the car accident that I had
Yep.
when I was young.
Mhm.
I've developed stenosis in my spine.
Mm.
So the tip of my spine is deteriorating. And so what causes bone spurs because the spine tries to correct itself and these bones try to grow and then it's
Yeah.
excruciating pain.
Yep.
And so I would go through different episodes of these terrible, uh, painful days and nights. So I had this span of time where I had to sleep completely flat on my back.
Yeah.
And my hair started to thin out in the back like a baby, when babies lay on their back. And I was like, "Oh my God, how am I gonna get this hair to get back thick and strong?" So I was trying
Mhm.
to find all these products and I was still new on my vegan journey and I was like, well, I can't just be concerned about what I'm eating and not what I'm
Right.
putting on my skin
Right.
and especially in my head, right? And I was like, well, maybe I need to create my own. And so I started trying to create my own products on my own by myself
Amazing.
um, right in 2019. And it was very hard. I was like, oh God, I can't get this done. I was trying. And then in 2020, Gina Woods, who's my business partner, she's a COO, she came to me and she was like, girl, because our kids, my husband was a basketball coach for her sons. And she was like, I have this idea I want to run by you. And I was like, oh, okay. And so she had the exact idea that I was already trying to develop. I was like, girl, do you know I've been trying to develop this for a year and I
Mhm.
just don't have the time, to get it done by myself. And she was
Mhm.
like, I can do it. I can do all because that's her
That
love
was
language
what she did.
is like
Yeah.
business stuff.
Yeah.
And she doesn't, she's not in front of the camera. She's not out in the world. She's like in her office. Like that's her superpower.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right. So that's how Donna's recipe was born. Uh, and God
Amazing.
will send you what you need, right? He sent her to me because I couldn't get it done alone.
Yeah. Yeah, now you're both helping women everywhere.
Yeah, and now it started with the strength oil, which makes your hair strong again.
Mhm.
And then now we've developed like sweet potato pie collection with shampoo and conditioner
Yeah.
and leave-ins, and
Oh my
we just
god.
keep expanding it. We got into Ulta. It's just been amazing. Uh,
Sweet potato pie after Miss Patti LaBelle?
well, sweet potato pie because people know that I can't bake.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I love
No.
I love Miss Patty LaBelle.
I know
You
you
mentioned
do.
a story about her, but
Of course, and your mother and you yeah, of course.
I love her.
Yeah.
Um,
She's
but I
the
was
greatest. Yeah.
She is, and I met her at the airport last summer in New Orleans, and I was just like, "Oh my god, what a,
Mhm.
full circle moment." It was a beautiful moment to just meet her and spend just a few minutes with her, and then she ended up we were on the same flight,
Yeah.
and, she was on the same row on the other side. I was just like it was
I
just
know, how do
amazing.
you even contain yourself and not drive her
Right.
crazy the entire
It was
flight?
it was amazing. She was like, "You the girl to be smiling all the time." I was like, "I
That's
am."
me! Right.
Yeah,
Oh,
I loved it. I
the
loved it.
coolest, just so great. All right,
Yeah.
let's talk about Seen, Loved, Heard, a guided journal for feeding the soul. This is your newest
Yeah,
release, and, it's of course, it's beautiful. I was going through
thank
it. I'm
you.
kind of afraid to write in it because I have poor penmanship. I have to get over that, right?
Well, just buy 2, 1 that you keep and then 1 for
I
that.
think it by the way, I think you're right. I think
Yeah,
you're right because
I love it.
I need to be able to mess one up and need to be able to hold
You
one.
know? But you know what? However you write is your business. I don't have the best penmanship either. I always say when we don't have the best penmanship, we were only meant to do autographs, girl.
It's not bad. Talk about this. Talk about the journal and why this was important to you.
So the journal, like it says, it's a guided journal for feeding the soul. Feeding the soul for me was all about my freedom walk, how all the
Yeah,
things I've went through to get to a place of freedom.
yeah,
And so I wanted to create a journal for other people who are ready for their freedom walk and they
yeah,
want to unpack some things, but really get back to them,
yeah,
right? Getting back to loving themselves and seeing themselves, hearing themselves, so that others can see them and hear them and love them. But it all starts here. And so
mhm,
that's what it is. It's really just a guided journal to help people get started. And it's like it's different chapters based on where you are in your life. You may not need to start in the beginning. Where you are, it may be towards the end. Uh,
mhm,
but wherever you are, pick it up, turn the pages, feel it, do some of the exercises, some of those that mirror work.
mm,
Uh, Sometimes the list. My mom taught me about making lists
mm.
of pros and cons, especially like in relationships too. But with yourself, some people don't even know what they like because
Right.
you don't even know what you like, and if you don't know what you like, honey, you will almost accept anything.
That's true.
So if you start a list and you say, okay, what are the things I like? What are the things I don't like? Well, if you don't know what you like yet, at least do the things you don't like. And
Yeah.
now let's try to figure out what we do like. That means we got to
Mhm.
get to know ourselves a little bit better. So that's why, I gave like fun exercises for people to do that have helped me over the years. And, fun mirror exercises, affirmations, things to speak life into yourself,
Yeah.
dating yourself, also letting go. Learning
Mhm.
how to let go. Also, dealing with grieving. Grieving is a tough thing for a lot of
Ugh,
people.
yeah.
it holds a lot of us in certain places. And so I just wanted to really have fun with that, but in a way that it felt like people were feeling hugged and loved on
Mhm.
their journey. And that's it. That's seen, loved, and heard.
Well, I think, you've done a remarkable job. Makes
Thank
sense.
you.
Makes
Thank
sense. It's part of you.
you.
Tabitha Brown, I love that we got to connect. I think you're amazing. Watching you online again, it's like you have this infectious joy. There's also, of course, a line at Target, so you guys check out that stuff. You're just everywhere, but like I'm here for it. Like I am here to be a part of Tabitha's world. Like it just is so good. And yeah, no, I think you're incredible. And you guys obviously follow Tabitha Brown at I am Tabitha Brown everywhere. Check out her YouTube. Check out CompliPlated. Check out yeah, everything, all the books. Cooking from the Spirit, Feeding the Soul, the new
Yeah.
journal, Tabitha Brown, Seen, Loved, Heard. Thank you for being on my podcast. I'm at Just Jenny Hutt on Instagram, Jenny Hutt on TikTok and Twitter. And any questions or comments, you can email justjennypod@gmail.com. But really, Tabitha Brown, thank you for being on here with me and spending so much time.
Absolutely, honey. Thank you
Yeah.
for having me. I appreciate you.
Yeah, you're a beautiful soul. All right. I'll be back, you guys, per usual tomorrow.
All right.